So the federal flood product is designed to be a Band-Aid. It is not designed to rebuild your house. So if you have a high-end
That's
client,
what they call it too.
Yeah.
I've had
a Band-Aid. It's
had NFIP call. This is just to lighten the blow.
Yep.
Now think about the mansions that got wiped out, and just mansions, just any house that got wiped out by the
250
flooding
max.
2 years
So
ago.
that was exactly what I was going to go to next. I'd love to talk about that. So that $250,000, the average home in Tampa Bay is $400,000.
Yeah.
That's the
Yep.
median.
So you're upside down.
Think
You're
about
upside down
debris
right out of the
removal,
gate.
too. Think about like just clearing that lot and starting. I mean, it's a slap in the face.
Welcome to Tampa Home Talk with your host, native Tampa real estate girl, Katrina Madewell, a full-time, passionate, out-of-the-box thinker, love for home ownership kind of realtor with over 21 years of combined mortgage and real estate experience. Tune in every week at this time for expert advice on everything you need to know about home ownership, finance, maintaining great credit, building wealth, and making your everyday life better, and how you can be financially successful today and tomorrow. Remember, love where you live or let Katrina fix it. Now, here's your host of Tampa Home Talk, Katrina Madewell.
Today, we're going to talk about what you need to know regarding flood insurance. I'm Katrina Madewell. This is Tampa Home Talk, and we're in the studio today with Triton Insurance Agency. Flood in 2026. The rules of engagement have changed. What does someone need to know regarding flood insurance?
So I think the biggest
And
misconception.
it's pouring rain outside
Yeah.
right now. We're getting 3 inches of rain probably right now.
Which we need so
Yeah.
desperately.
But I think the biggest misconception with flood insurance is, so you have a mortgage company who comes out and they say, oh, you don't need flood. You're not in a high risk zone. Or they'll even use the words, you are not in a flood zone. I can't tell you how that makes me just cringe when I hear those words, because the entire state of Florida is in a flood zone.
Just say you're not in a required flood
Yes,
insurance
exactly.
zone.
Thank you.
Bingo.
Okay. So
Yep.
everybody who lives in Florida, you are in a flood zone. And this hits me personally because one of our offices was in a flood zone X. We were in Trinity, Florida. We were inland, like, I don't know, was that 10 miles inland? And our office flooded out 3 times.
Ooh.
So
FEMA's remapping you.
yeah, well, actually, they still have it. It's still in an X zone, believe it or not. But that whole area is absolutely prone to flooding, and it is still considered an X zone. But when these people, they take flood policies, and they're like, okay, the bank is only going to require
That building
me.
is actually flooded out right now. It flooded out again.
Did
It's
it?
being gutted right now. I drove past it the other day.
Oh gosh, that's crazy.
So it'll be like five times that
times
one
Is that a
building
grading
flooded.
problem or is it an elevation problem? What's the
So-
issue?
So, all right. So as the area starts to populate, all right. So I live over in the Bexley neighborhood. That is a lot of newer developments, and it all surrounds older developments.
All State Road 54, I think.
Yep. So you have a lot of houses there that were built in the 60s, 70s, maybe the 80s. Okay. So back then they didn't have flood mapping. So they weren't building the houses upward. So now you have these new constructions where these new constructions are building higher up
Build
elevation.
everything up. Yep.
Yep. So where do you think that water's going to go to now?
Lower man on the totem
levels.
pole.
So the other thing is we're building apartments on wetlands. So all this water used to be in a concentrated area, and now we turned it into a parking lot. So now this water is looking for some place to go. So, people are always saying, I've lived in my house for 30 years. I've never been flooded. Okay, well, great. The Tampa landscape in general has dramatically changed
Well said.
over the last few years. So what happened or what your house went through, even I would say during 2-3 years ago, has probably changed dramatically. So, you see these houses that have been there for 30 years. The biggest thing I hear all day long, I don't need flood insurance. Either I'm not in a flood zone, I've never flooded. And I'm just like sitting there, I'm like, okay, but your new neighborhood around you is all brand new 2025 houses. Do you know how much dirt they brought in to build those houses? Like there's one area on 54 where the neighborhood literally is on like a slant. The newer neighborhood sits like probably 5-6 feet higher, and the older houses are down. And every time it rains, like I guarantee if I drive by it right now, there's a little river that runs in the front of the neighborhood and it just starts flooding in there. But
Because water used to go somewhere else where there's perhaps houses now.
And here's the problem is that all these new houses come in, and the guys out there in front of our office that flooded, they were working on the pipes 3 months after, right? There were some collapsed drainage pipes that were out there, right? And I remember talking to the guys and going, what's going on here? What are you guys doing? He goes, well, we're replacing the pipe. I go, you put in bigger pipes in? He goes, no, we're still putting the 18-inch pipe in, or whatever the heck he said, right? He goes, this should have a 36-inch pipe in here for the water drain, right? And so they're building all these houses in there on all these streets, and there's no drainage. There's no drainage, and people don't think about that.
And then you also have older neighborhoods too, like St. Pete and Clearwater. They're notorious for bad drainage.
Well, and how many contractors take the leaves from your house or the grass clippings and blow them right down the drain? So that stuff that's one of the biggest, and that's why that stuff floods. And homeowners insurance does not cover a penny of flood insurance.
Yeah, a lot of people have a misconception of that. And the easiest way to say it is your homeowner's insurance covers falling water, not rising water.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So flood is defined
Yes.
is rising water, storms, surge, or mudslide. So if it's outside water that's rising up, so like if you have a retention pond in your backyard, and here's the scary thing about retention ponds, which people also don't realize, retention ponds are all connected. So once one retention pond gets overwhelmed, it causes all of them to get overwhelmed, and it can happen very, very quickly. So part of the issue that we had in our office was the county was actually pumping water into these retention ponds. And within hours, our office had like 7 inches of water in it because it all of a sudden backed right up into our office.
And I'll tell you what, floodwater is the nastiest, stinkiest.
Please do not play in it. Do not have your kids play in it.
Most of it, they call it class 3, basically raw sewage. It falls into the same category as that.
Poop. It's poop water.
Because if you got septics,
all mixing and coming
it's
up.
all mixing together, and you see kids out there playing, and
With their
mom and dad
tubes
on the
and-
porch, and the kids are out there playing and running around. And I mean, that water, not only is that water like just, it's ready to just give you every infection that you could ever imagine. If you have an open wound, or you suck it in, or you get in your eyes.
Oh, there's animals and
But you
critters
also
in it.
got snakes that have moved around. You got gators that have been displaced. You got pieces of wood that have a gazillion fire ants on it. I mean, it's don't play in the freaking flood water, and you should have flood insurance. If you live in Florida and you
should carry
don't
flood.
have flood insurance, I don't care. Like, since you've lived in the house for 30 years, I don't care. I've lived in that house 50 years, it's never flooded. Well, the wind wasn't blowing the right way, and the storm's sewer pipes were flowing properly. So
X zone is what they consider a non-required flood insurance
non-mandatory
zone.
for mortgage.
So isn't it less expensive to get flood insurance if you're in an X zone?
Traditionally,
Should be.
yes. Yeah. So they actually went through something, it was called like Flood 2.0, where flood guidelines and their rating system completely changed. It was about 5-6 years ago. They used to have kind of like a standard flood mapping. So every house that was in a flood zone, it was $450 for $250,000 in dwelling and $100,000 in contents. Well, FEMA kind of came out and they were like, okay, so this is obviously not working because you have houses that are in flood zone X that are, still a little bit of a higher risk. So they came out and now they're actually doing a lot more. They're doing geocoding on the specific house itself now. And they're taking into consideration, is it 1 story? Is it 2 story? Is it frame? Is it masonry?
They do have to get the exact elevation of the ground. The base flood elevation of the ground is
Which
what
your
they're
surveyor
what they're
can help
doing.
you with.
Yeah. So we actually had a house in a Carrollwood and they let their flood policy lapse. And this was prior to the 2.0 system that they purchased the policy. And now that they're in that 2.0 system, it went up to like $3,500.
What was it?
It used to be like $450.
Ooh.
And that's a flood zone
Yeah,
X.
and it's a flood zone X.
Yeah.
But the thing that people need to realize is, so federal flood, so you can go to like Progressive, you can go to ASI, you can go to Frontline, you can go to Bankers, and you can buy a FEMA flood product directly through them. But those are all going to have the same exact rating because it's all set by the federal government. It's all going to be the same rating factor with flood. But you have private options now that weren't available like 2 years ago, even last year. So the private market has grown considerably in Florida.
Lloyd's of London.
Which is
Yeah.
huge.
It is. It's huge. And it's such a relief for a lot of homeowners because the private market has so many more bells and whistles. So the federal flood product is designed to be a Band-Aid. It is not designed to rebuild your house. So if you have a high-end
That's
client.
what they call it too.
Yeah.
I've had
A Band-Aid. It's
had NFIP call. This is just to lighten the blow.
Yep.
Now think about the mansions that got wiped out, and just any house that got wiped out by the
250
flooding
max.
two years
So
ago.
that was exactly what I was going to
Yep.
go to next. I'd love to talk about that. So that $250,000, the average home in Tampa Bay is $400,000.
Yeah.
That's the
Yep.
median.
So you're
think about
upside down.
Think
You're
about
upside down
debris
right out of the
removal,
gate.
too. Think about like just clearing that lot and starting. I mean, it's a slap in the face. So, but the private market, I mean, they have options. Some of the private market goes to like 20 million. So, and then they also come with like temporary living expenses. They come with
right. So the house floods out. Back to that temporary. So the house floods out, and where are you going to live? You cannot live in a flooded house.
Right.
It stinks.
Consider
You
Oh,
have
yeah,
fans,
mold, mildew.
You cannot live. You can't have
Drywall.
kids in there, so you got to go live someplace else. Like your homeowners, your house burns down. You got loss of use to go
On
pay
the
for you to
homeowner
go
side.
rent
But
a
it's
new
not gonna kick in with
house. But flood doesn't have it. But the private flood does have that loss of use.
So it's got loss of use. And here's what during Helene and Milton, we had like 5 clients call us, and they were like, I was cleaning my pool to get the salt water out. And we're like, did you have a professional company? And they're like, no, my neighbor did it. Guess what happens to the pool? Pops out of the ground. So one of the worst things you can do is try to clean a pool on your own after a storm. I know that, you want to get in the pool.
No
you want to make
coverage.
it right.
No
That
coverage for
idea-
pot
The pool
pools.
pops out of the ground.
No coverage for pot
So
pools.
the private market offers pool repair and refill. So they'll actually pay to have a company come out and do it professionally. That way you and your neighbors aren't, trying to do it on
Pretty
your own.
cool.
What's
It
a
really
big deal with the pool popping out of the ground? People don't realize that's a real thing,
There's no
but
way
it
to
is
save,
when you
there's
drain
no
it.
way to
Yeah.
save it. Then at that point, you're demolishing and rebuilding a whole new pool. So
The other thing is that 40% of all water damage claims from flooding, I should say flooding claims, are in guess what zone?
X,
Flood zone X.
yeah, which is
40,
non-flood zone.
40%. So why is it not a mandatory zone if that, and that's not just Florida. This is across, like if you looked at right now federal disaster areas on a map across the U.S., right, there'd be like red fingers where there's all flooding going on. Flooding is going on all
Everywhere.
over the U.S. Flooding right now is the number one disaster.
Well, look at Asheville that just happened.
Kentucky, right? I mean, there's just like the
It was
entire
crazy stuff
Mississippi,
that happened in Nashville.
and it's horrible. What they really should do is have every home. If you own a house, you should have flood insurance. Flood insurance should be mandatory. It should be like cheap.
Well,
Are you guys seeing piggyback policies like where you get homeowners and that homeowner's carrier will just do a rider or add-on for flood?
no.
some of them do actually.
Like what?
Yeah. So like there's a couple companies that will write it
add
on
it to
there.
the homeowner's
Yeah.
policy. I'm sorry.
And then
yes.
there's also
Yeah.
like, I know Frontline actually has their own FEMA products where you get a discount on both of them. But I know
Yeah.
there's a couple of them.
Because the cool thing about that, having your flood and your homeowners together, and sometimes it's just not an option unless you're, want to spend a lot more money. But the cool thing about it is when you file a claim and you got flood with NFIP and then you get the homeowners here, these guys here are going, oh, this is a flood claim.
The other
Right?
one's saying
And these
it's a
guys are
hurricane.
going,
You're both
no,
doing
no,
this,
this
right?
is caused by the hurricane. And this is caused
Yeah.
by the storm. And this guy was saying, no, it was caused by the surge. We're going to send our engineer out. Oh, we're going to send our engineer out.
Yeah.
And they fight about it. Where if they're both with the same
Oh,
company,
my gal Erin Donovan could tell you about stuff she's still fighting about like years later.
Well, this is why
horrible.
Citizens stepped in, and now they're mandating that every Citizens policy that includes wind coverage has a flood policy. So if you have a Citizens homeowners or even a dwelling product with them and you have hurricane coverage on it, you are now going to have to carry flood insurance. And that all relates back to what Mike was mentioning about the dilemma between the two claims. So I think it was Hurricane Michael that a lot of the claims got put on the back burner because the engineer from the flood department
Up in
and
the
the
Panhandle?
homeowners, where they were just kind of going back and forth because your homeowner's claim goes by proximate cause. So it goes by whatever hit first.
Right.
So if it was a hurricane winds that hit your house first, then that's a hurricane claim. Now, if it was rising water, then that goes on the flood policy.
So how do you prove that? I mean, that's
Engineers.
so hard.
Engineering.
Months,
It's like CSI.
months.
They
It
come
takes
out
forever. But if you don't have flood insurance, honestly, if you live in Florida, they're like, I don't need it. You're out of your mind because literally I've seen people's house like Helene and Milton. They destroyed wealth. So imagine the $2 million house that was totally destroyed from flood, right? So one day you're like going to bed at night going, I got $2 million equity. And that could be somebody, it was, in many cases, it was people's their life savings. They put every dime to pay off the house.
Next day it's dirt, right? Because
Next
subject to
day,
that FEMA 50
they get
rule.
a check from FEMA for $250,000 and a pile of debris sitting there. And now they sold the lot for $400,000.
And you still have a mortgage on the house too.
They sold the lot
Yeah.
for $400,000.
And those people that came out and like the federal government offered like the subsidized loans at the time, but that's not a replacement loan. That's
Right.
you're taking out a second loan on your house. Now you have your first mortgage and now you
True.
have the second mortgage. It's just
So that's a perfect segue into builder's risk insurance. Let's talk about that. When should someone have builder's risk insurance compared to a regular policy?
Anytime, well, like let's say somebody's buying a house in a quick scenario, somebody's buying a house and it's not insurable. The 4-point is bad, plumbing is bad, roofing is bad, then they get a builder's risk. And they can get a 2-month, 3-month, 4-month, even a 12-month builder's risk, whatever, just for like renovations. So your deal, the question is the bank going to accept a builder's risk policy? Because builder's risks are usually ACV. They're usually just actual cash value. So sometimes the mortgage company just won't accept it. The other scenarios where like the house is totally destroyed, like the hurricanes, the storm surge that came in. Now the house has to be torn down. So you need insurance
or even renovated, even if you're ripping out walls and stuff.
Even if you're ripping out walls and stuff, So you need to have coverage that will cover the house being torn down, the debris removed, and then the new construction of the new house. So we actually just got set up with a brand new company it's the biggest builder's risk company in the country. Went to 2 days of training, back-to-back luncheons at Eddie V's, which was very cool. But it's a very detailed, but your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover it. Does not cover it.
Yeah, well, they're different policies, right?
Totally,
so if you have a homeowner,
totally different policy.
So going back to your point, if you have a flooded home, you should be changing your insurance right away to builder's
which nobody
risk.
ever does.
Right.
Nobody ever does, but that's really what the things that you need to do. And if you're building, and so they're going to require the name of the builder, the contractor. He can't have any insurance claims in like 3 years. He's got to be, and most of the contractor, good guys, they're pretty clean. Then we just need the basic construction plans and specs, what it's going to cost, and then boom, you get a builder's risk, and then you get it for 12 months. Then if you got to add 3 because you're going over a little bit,
which happened,
happens all the freaking
Yeah.
time. I mean, they want to know pictures, they want to see pictures, they want to see where it's at and all that, but nobody can be living in the house
so
like a
for
requirement.
any reason your house is not habitable, lightning
Builder's
strike,
risk.
flood,
builder's
Yeah.
risk.
Builders.
fire, anything major that
Yeah.
changes your ability to live
It's
there.
really, it's exactly. It's about is it habitable or not? So you get people that, you're replacing carpet in the house. That's different. That's like cosmetic.
Painting and carpet.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a builder's risk policy. This is where the house, you can't even live in it because there's no kitchen and bathroom, or there was damage to the house. Like
So even a kitchen renovation, you're saying someone should have a builder's risk policy.
Technically, if your kitchen is the house is not habitable because you can't eat there.
Right.
It's kind of like if your toilets are not working, you can't live there in the insurance world, right? So if the kitchen's not working, you really can't. Oh, we're still in. There's people that still do that all the time. The kitchen's a gut remodel, and they got contractors out there, doing the work. But anytime the house is not habitable, by that definition,
So should they keep their regular insurance policy in place and just also get a temporary builder's risk policy?
Depends on what you're doing. Depends on what you're doing. My technical answer, I should say no, but it really depends on if it's a simple thing, that's going to be done in 2 weeks. If you're putting floors, can you live in a house that's 3,000 square foot house? You're doing 3,000 floors. Can you live in that house? So you really can't. But sometimes we just deal with things in life and get through it. But you at least got to have the conversation and figure out, okay, how much is this going to cost? Is my contractor good?
Right.
I mean, the contractors out there are just, they leave people high and dry in the middle of a freaking job all the time.
I'm Katrina Madewell. Today we're talking about flood insurance and builder's risk, what you need to know about each on your insurance policy. In the studio with Triton Insurance Agency.